The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation, make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels, operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Havre, Montana, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32188. Please utilize this job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting down at the front bumper, on both right and left sides, you'll find open-ended tow hooks. That's underneath the bumper. On the left and right side, you'll see dual air horns currently covered. Also on the driver's side, you'll find your electronic siren and PA speaker. Moving up onto the top, you'll find a tubbed storage location for your pre-connected line. Moving once again to the driver's side, you'll find your mechanical siren. Moving up onto the outer edges, you'll find your turn indicator and marker light. Moving just inward of that location is your headlight cluster. Low beams are on the outer edges and your high beam is on the inside. Moving up from that location is where you're going to find a cluster of emergency warning lights. Across the front, you're going to find dual windshield wipers for right and left. And then as we move up further up to the top across the brow, you'll find 5 running lights. And then all the way up to the very top is where you'll find your electronic light bar. And located in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. Here are a few images that are close-ups of what we just talked about, including the headlight cluster and turn indicator. And then moving up to the very top, forward-facing floodlight and also your light bar. Let's look down into the driver's side door. You'll find an auto eject for your Small air. You'll also find an auto eject 20 amp shore power inlet. Moving to the side of the apparatus, a couple warning labels here regarding riding on the side of the apparatus and the hazards associated. You'll also find an entanglement warning here because those hoses are coming off the side of the vehicle, so be cautious. And then you'll also find this, which is a warning label regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards while removing. Down in the lower section, you'll find a warning label regarding not to mix foam types. And then you'll also find your Watrous placard. We'll talk about those things in just a few minutes. Let's start first up at the top here with the number 1 driver's side. You'll find on the driver's side all your discharges are odd, and on the passenger side they're all going to be even. So this will be the number 3 discharge. Located in the center, Pierce logo, you'll find the large diameter intake. Moving just to the right, you're going to find the manual pump shift. There is also a caution label just underneath that, so seek the advice of that information. And in the upper right hand corner, this is going to be your main pump drain, and you'll pull to drain. Just beneath that, you'll find a pan door. We'll talk about what's behind that in the next set of images. First, let's take a look at the driver's side auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5 inch auxiliary inlet, and then as you can see, clustered around it are all of the different drains. This is your Watrous placard. You can see it has the serial number. It also has the gear ratio and the type of pump it is, 1500 GPM. And on the far right, once again, that warning label regarding the failure of foam if you mix. This is your Watrous placard. Let's take a look behind that pan door. This is the foam information here regarding the handle in yellow. This is if you choose to drain or if you choose to fill for operation. There are the instructions on the left-hand side of the door. Also, just inside, you'll find, difficult to see in this image, but I'm pointing to the foam drain. Underneath the apparatus on the driver's side is where you're going to find the foam pump discharge drain and also the foam intake drain. As we move further back to the compartments, there are 3 compartments in this area. First, the first compartment we just saw, and then you also have one just above the rear tire. And then the very rear, you're going to find this is the location for your DEF fill, which is a 4.5 US gallon tank. Just to the rear of the tires where you'll find the silver cap, which is your ultra low sulfur diesel fuel. The very rear compartment, you can see the bottom shelf pulls out. On the right hand side is the mechanism to release that. And then just underneath in front and rear of the rear wheel is you'll find your folding wheel chocks. We're now to the rear of the apparatus. A couple of warning labels here regarding riding on the back of the apparatus and a fall hazard. Let's take a look at the cluster for the brake, turn, and emergency light, and also a rear backup light. Just above the cluster in the rear here is where you'll find an additional switch for the rear lights. Moving upward from that and slightly to the right by the Pierce logo is where you'll find that warning label here regarding riding on the apparatus. Further up, we're going to find a combination of scene lights and also rear floodlights. So let's take a look. On the right hand side, you'll see there are plenty of grab handles for being able to grab, including the step handles, or steps are even grab handles also. Moving up to the top, you're going to find two of the discharge ports, right and left. Located in the center is the camera for backing up and also your traffic advisor. At the very top of that, there is a informational warning label regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards. This is the rear scene lights. That was the switch just on the driver's side above the cluster of turn and brake lights. Here's a close-up here of the camera, and also once again that warning label at the very top regarding you to be cautious while you open caps while they're under pressure. In the rear of the compartment, you have a pull-out and also a fixed shelf. And as we move to the ladder compartment here in the rear, right side or passenger side, you'll find a 24-foot extension ladder, a 14-foot roof ladder, and at the very top, a 10-foot folding. There are also 3 tubes located here for additional long pole or pike pole type storage. As we move to the top of the apparatus, you'll find adjustable hose bed storage locations. And then let's go ahead and move to the side of the apparatus first. This is just in the area by the pump area. So you'll find your number 1 and number 2 crosslay. They're color coded and also labeled. And then you'll also find this entanglement hazard because those hoses are coming off above. To the right, you'll find your water level indicator. You can see that from a distance. And as we look to the dunnage area, this is the location for your water fill on top of the apparatus, and then also your foam tank fill for Class A foam. Further in the background, this is going to be your hydraulic pump for your foam system, and we have a couple more images of that in the next set. Let's move forward here. This is between the pump housing as far as the controls, and also midsection you can see your crosslays and also a dunnage area. In that dunnage area is where you'll find your foam tank fill. This is a latched top here on that tank, and then this is that image we showed earlier. This is the hydraulic oil. This is for your foam hydraulic oil reservoir. The black is the cap to remove for filling. We're now back to the passenger side of the vehicle, rear compartment. You can see a fixed shelf and also an adjustable shelf that pulls out. We're at the midsection, just above the rear tire. You'll find a tool board, and also when that tool board is open, the hinge side has the release mechanism to restore. In front and rear of the tires, you're going to find SCBA or air bottle storage and also straps for safety. Moving down to the very bottom, very important, this is extremely hot exhaust temperatures, and be cautious as to where you park. We're now in the midsection of the apparatus. We'll talk about what's behind the pan door here, but let's first talk about some warning labels here. Once again, hazardous riding on the side of the apparatus, that's why these labels are here. You also have an entanglement warning label on the right hand side, and then you also have once again a warning label regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards while removing those. Be cautious. You do have on the off side here, or passenger side, this is going to be a number 2 discharge, and then you also, that's a 2.5 inch. We also have an access panel here. We'll move to the right where you'll find your large diameter pump intake, and then further to the right you'll find your large diameter discharge, which is going to be color coded in green. Down at the very bottom is where you're going to find all of the drains for those associated color coded and labeled fixtures. To the right, this is going to be your cab lift. Please read the instructions prior to use, and also make sure all items are secure prior to tilting the cab and that you're secure above the area of the cab. Looking inside the access doors, the gray aluminum, this is going to be your pole light, goes through the actual dunnage area. Just beneath that, you're going to find this access door for your relief valve. It is adjustable. And then down at the lower section, you'll find color-coded and labeled drains. Here's a close-up of your cab lift, and also that caution here regarding overhead obstructions. Looking here down at the through compartments here, this is going to be your crosslays. You also have additional storage on both the passenger and driver side in this area where the step is.
And as we move to the very top section where the pump operator is, you'll find on the left-hand side, this is going to be your deluge discharge. And then you'll also find your Husky 3 foam specifications. This is a placard that you might want to familiarize yourself with. On the right-hand side, you do have a panel gauge heater. This is automatic. And as we move to the right in the red section, this is your Husky 3 foam system. This is the operational modules. As you can see, the green indicator here, system on and off. You do have a digital readout for your foam percentage, and then increase or decrease is the gray buttons, and then your yellow button is going to be your prime. Take a look at the flashing indicator lights here. They're on the right-hand side for system status. To the right is your foam level indicator. As we move into the gray area, this is your master intake and also your master discharge. Just beneath those two, when you're doing pump testing, is where you'll find your test gauge ports for vacuum and for pressure. Moving further to the right, you're going to find your engine cooler. You can see it's clearly a twist, not a pull, and then your primer for your fire pump. This is an air prime. Seek the instructions just beneath that at least 1,000 RPMs and then push to prime. To the right, we'll talk a little bit about what's to the right here in this pan area, but I wanted to cover some of those switches now. Starting at the top of the switch panels, you'll find your panel light. Then just beneath that, you're going to find your pump and gauge. This is an indicator light. You'll find two switches for driver's side and passenger side scene, and then your pump compartment heater. You're also going to find inside that compartment your head for the radio system for your Motorola. And as we move down to the actual levers, we're going to find first in the upper left-hand corner your large diameter passenger side discharge. That's in green, and it is a wheel valve. Just beneath that, you'll find once again the warning label. As we look across, you're going to find all of your discharges here clearly color-coded and labeled. What I would like to point out is the red label here, which is your water foam. These are the ones that are capable of delivering foam and water. As we look to the right, you're going to find your minimum operation maintenance schedule. This coincides with the plaque just beneath that, which has the job number and all of the associated pressures. We'll talk about that in a second. First, let's go back up to the throttle pressure control governor. That is the module that's located here. And then as we move to the right, you'll find an additional water level. This is for your tank water level. Let's go back to the Pierce maintenance schedule. This is for 150, 200, and 250 PSI. First, you'll find the job number in the upper left. You'll find the associated GPMs on the left and coinciding RPMs on the right-hand side. This placard is for when it was tested at the manufacturer, and you should have those same numbers as you consistently test your pump. On the far right-hand side, this is going to be a warning label that only trained personnel should operate this vehicle. And in the upper right, this is that driver's side auxiliary inlet. We're now to the driver's seat area. You'll find a warning label here regarding the use of seat belts. They are red in color for easy visual identification. And then we also have placed all your warning labels here on every point of entry. Additional down by the right ankle of the operator, you'll find some additional information. First, let's start with this Pierce manufactured placard. You'll find the job number, date of manufacture, gross vehicle weight ratings, tire information, and also your VIN number. Just beneath that, you're going to find all of your fluid capacities for all of the components, fluid capacity, and the most important part, the fluid types. As we move to the pillar on the window, which is on the driver's side, A pillar is the also location for the vehicle VIN number. Once you're plugged into shore power, you will find your battery voltage Q-Small electronic activate. And as we look down at the foot area, you'll find the mechanical siren. Moving back over, we'll just take a quick look at some of the items here. First, your battery switch in the upper left-hand corner, and then we'll move up from that location, quarter turn, red switch. As we move up from that location, we're going to find the pump shift. This is on the left-hand side of the column. And this is the information here for moving your vehicle in from road to pump mode. You'll also find in this area the ignition and start. And then all the way to the very far right, you're going to find your SRS, which stands for Supplemental Restraint System Fault. This is an indicator that you may have a problem, if lit, with your supplemental restraint system. Just beneath that, you're going to find the SRS transmission diagnostics, and also in the green port, you'll find your engine and ABS diagnostic port. To the right-hand side, you'll find your engine diagnostics and ABS diagnostic switches. Those are activated when utilizing the portage. Up onto the dash itself, we're going to find your tachometer, water indicator as far as the temperature, transmission temperature, your voltage, and then you also have oil pressure. To the right, you're going to find some informational displays here. You can see the parking brake is on, and you also have your batteries on. As we move to the left of that, we'll find your oil, water, transmission, and volts once again. And then there's again your tachometer. Just a different view for you so you can get a good look. This is just left of the steering column. Let's now move to the right-hand side of the steering column. As the operator will look out the front windshield, you're going to find first down in the lower right-hand corner the rear air, and then over to the left your front air. These are two gauges indicating the amount of air inside. You can also see down in the lower corner it says R and F, and then you'll find the DEF level, fuel, and also your speedometer. Moving now to the right-hand side of the operator, you'll find your Allison transmission pad. It does give a digital readout in the display. You'll find your push to apply your system parking brakes, and also, pull to apply, push to release. And then on the left-hand side, you'll find your climate control. We'll talk about the switches individually. First, you have headlights, dimmer for the panel, wipers. You also have your wiper blade on and off, and then a load manager and load manager indicator. Let's move to the next set of images. To the far right-hand side, you'll find the climate control. In the gray area is your heat and defrost, red for heat, and blue for AC. You're also going to find in this panel area caution labels. You're also going to find that you need to not exceed 25 miles an hour when you're engaged with your tire chains. And at the very top, the switches are the engine brake on and off. You have a low, medium, and high setting, high beam flash, a future switch location, mirror heat, and then your tire change. The switch cover can be removed once it's applied and in service. To the right, you'll find your flat and convex mirrors. And we're going to go ahead and take a general look overhead of the operator. First, let's start with the yellow placard on the far left as it comes from the manufacturer. Height 9 feet 10 inches, length 32 feet 9.25 inches, and the gross vehicle weight rating is 53,800 pounds. Once again, if you make any revises to any of this, you should change this placard. Moving to the right of the placard, you're going to find your emergency master, your roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, and upper rear warning. You'll also notice on all of these switches that they do have a light illuminating when they have been activated. Let's move slightly to the right of that. This is where you're going to find your traffic advisor to the rear of the apparatus, on off, and also you have different selections for the functions. Moving further to the right, you're going to have your DPF regen inhibit in red, and also a high idle switch in red. And you have an OK to engage high idle. Future switch location, and then you have the option of either electric horn or air horn. This is going to be the monitor for your camera system to the rear. And as we look to the right, you'll find this Pierce Information Center. This is indicating for operators or personnel that are in the seats, red indicating that someone's in the seat but not belted, and then green indicating that someone's in the seat and belted. Let's take a look up here to the very top. You're going to find this puck style light, which is red and flashing. This is a do not move your apparatus. You have either a compartment or you have a door open. You'll also find when plugged into shore power, these will operate up next to the cab area. These are shore power plugs. And as we spin around and look to the very back, you'll find two forward-facing SCBA seats. I would like to point out the red seat belts for easy identification. You also have two rear-facing SCBA seats. Underneath those, you'll find additional storage. There is access to those in the front and also onto the side. Let's take a look at those in the next set of images. I think I have some that show the compartment in the open position. This one is an access door. And as we look inside when that door is in the open position, you can find your battery tender here and also a 12-volt module. Looking in between, you're going to find the access door for the engine oil, transmission. Those are your daily checks. Just a general view looking forward to the front of the cab, and then we'll look to the side once again, and we're in the front seat. This is your supplemental restraint system. There is a warning label down at the lower section. Please do not place anything in this area for your own safety. There is additional warning and hazard labels on the side doors for firefighters at all points of entry. And then, of course, your fill location for your windshield wipers on the right-hand side, about right knee of the officer. Down at the lower section, you're going to find a mechanical siren foot pedal. Just inside, underneath the officer seat, is where you're going to find the main unit for your Motorola head system. And then also you have an air horn push button, and at the very front, your vehicle data recorder. As we look to the center, you'll find your unit radio, control of your siren, and then we've already talked about some of those switches on the lower section, but this is the front flood, driver side scene, passenger side scene, rear scene. You also have that 120 inverter. That's the switch for this that we saw in the drawer that pulled out. And then you also have in red the siren brake. Looking overhead of the officer, you'll find you have a variety of different blanks here for additional or future modules. And then you have the 2 fans which are controlled on the units for inside the cab. Congratulations on your new apparatus. If you have any questions to the content of this video or any future questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Congratulations and good luck.